Hello everyone, how are you doing? I'm doing good. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the anime Happy Sugar Life, which is anything but happy and sugar-filled. It is one of the most uncomfortable and disturbing anime I've ever watched. It follows a group of deviant, messed up individuals who become obsessed with each other in very disturbing ways, including a little girl. So if this is something that you don't want to watch, please click away. Episode 1 opens with two girls standing on a rooftop with flames and smoke surrounding them. It becomes clear that they're discussing ending their lives. One is clearly a bit older than the other, and they appear to love each other very deeply. Who are these girls, and what are they to each other? How in the world did they end up here? Satou Matsuzaka is a high school girl who works part-time at a maid cafe. This job is very important to her because she has recently started living with the person she loves, and she has to be a good provider. This person is a little girl named Shoko, and Matsuzaka will regularly refer to her as the love of her life, her one and only, and the person who taught her what love actually is. Before this, she slipped around a lot, going from guy to guy in a fruitless pursuit of the feeling of being loved and loving someone in return. But now she's found true love and doesn't have to go after men anymore.
誓いの言葉やめる時も健やかなる時も
この子は
喜びの時も
どんなものよりも甘いかけらで
止める時も貧しい時も
私の心を満たしてくれる。
死が二人を分かつまで私はさとちゃんが
きっとこの
大好きなことを
キラキラしている感情が愛と呼ばれるものなのね。
Yes, it is very weird that they say marriage vows to each other, but I don't think Shio really understands the significance of a wedding or marriage vows. For her, they are simply an expression of devotion and commitment, which is what vows are. I don't think that there is a sexual or romantic element to this dynamic, though it is something that is open to interpretation. Matsuzaka takes her role as provider very seriously and works hard to provide a good life for her precious Shiho. While at work, a boy named Taiyou confesses his feelings for her and she turns him down. Two things happen after this. Taiyou stops coming into work and her manager begins forcing her to work overtime, thereby reducing her time with Shio. And then, when payday finally arrives, her check does not come anywhere close to reflecting all the hard work she's done, and she needs this money. This money is for Shio-chan. And now we see a different side to the bubbly Matsuzaka. Jealous of the attention that Matsuzaka received from Taiyou, the older woman wants to knock her down a peg and show her who's boss. How dare this young, pretty girl think that she can get all the boys? There's no way. I'll show her. But the manager was in no way prepared to deal with the wrath of Satou Matsuzaka, who has been paying much closer attention than her manager knew.
だってここに充満してる店長と三つ星くんがそういうことした匂い。じとじとして気持ち悪い店長の匂いが三つ星くんを飲み込む感じ。美人で優しいって評判の店長が実は陰行条例に引っかかるような女だなんて、女王様のあなたが周囲から向けられる白い目に耐えられますか？私はあなたの王国なんてどうだっていいんです。あなたがここで何をしようがどう振る舞おうが本当にどうでもよかったのに。大丈夫ですよ。ちゃんとお給料払ってくださいね。
The manager kidnapped poor Taiyou and kept him in the office for days, abusing him again and again. And Matsuzaka knew this and didn't do anything to save him because she needs this job. For Shio-chan, she doesn't really care. She just wants to be paid what she's owed. We see more of Matsuzaka and Shio's home. How is this high school girl able to live in such a nice apartment? And what is behind this locked door? It's bloody bags, bloody trash bags, and blood spatter all over the walls. So much blood that she is unable to clean it all. And of course she cannot keep these things in the house. So one night while she's attempting to dispose of this evidence, she feels someone watching her. Who could it be? Unfortunately, it's someone she already knows.
先生なのに生徒のことストーカーしていいんですか？
そうですね。いけないことですね。だからいいんじゃないですか。危ない綱渡り。そういうギリギリって素敵なことだと思いません？きめ細やかな肌を全身で可愛がって私の色に染めてあげたい。たまらない。私なら他の男なんか忘れるくらいの快楽をたっぷりと与えてあげられるのに。
悪い大人。
This teacher is the creepiest of creeps, and this voice acting performance made my stomach turn. He's so unapologetically perverted. The way he talks about his desires for the students, these teenage girls, makes me want to vomit. And he has a wife and child. Matsuzaka is disgusted by him and manages to get away from him before he assaults her, which he had every intention of doing. I half expected her to murder him, but perhaps she didn't have a weapon on her. Just like me, she's revolted by him and knows that having him follow her around is no good because she's keeping a little girl in her home. So she goes to him, where he lives with his wife and child, and puts him in his place, thereby unlocking a new kink. Isn't that wonderful for him?
僕ね、たった一つじゃ満たされないんですよ。たくさんの女性と関係を持ち、愛し愛されたい。それが僕の愛です。
そんなにスリルが欲しいなら私が好きなだけ追い込んであげましょうか？奥さんにバラして家庭崩壊がいいですか？職場に連絡して懲戒免職がいいですか？
やばい。なんでこんなに気持ちいいんだ。
私はようやく見つけたんです。たった一つの愛を。自分に酔っているだけのあなたと一緒にしないでください。
And with this new dom-sub dynamic, she forces him to dispose of her trash bags, and he does it, though he pretty much knows what he's destroying. Seems like he even gets a kick out of it. Now let's check back in with Taiyou, the boy who was kidnapped and assaulted by his boss. He's having a very difficult time, as one would expect. He went through something horrific, and he does not know how to deal with it. He feels dirty and impure, and this is how it feels when someone makes unwanted sexual contact with you. And it seems like no one other than Matsuzaka and the manager knows what happened to him, so no one is giving him the help that he so desperately needs. For me, he's the character that's the hardest to grapple with. By the end of the series, I think I felt disgust and pity towards him. It's difficult to like him, and it's difficult to hate him. And you'll begin to see why very soon. Taiyou has developed an obsession with Shio, having seen her photo on missing posters her brother has been putting up around town. He develops a kind of delusion, or a fantasy. He believes she is pure and innocent, an angel that can purify him. An older woman made him filthy, and this young girl can undo that, and he desperately desires to be purified. When he's just out one night, he stops a bunch of thugs from beating up a boy. This boy turns out to be Shio's brother, and he rescues him, taking him back to the new place where he and Matsuzaka are now working. And then Matsuzaka's entire world is shaken to the core.
止める時も貧しい時も死が二人を分かつまで俺はやめて。だって待って、それはシオのことが、その言葉。
She doesn't kill him, though she might have if they were somewhere more secluded. In the meantime, Shio-chan is going stir crazy, and even though the outside world is a terrible and dangerous place, she goes out in search of her beloved. And then she bumps into young Taiyou, and it is at this part of the anime that I truly began to feel sick, where the urge to stop watching was extremely powerful. Up until this point, I was holding out that Taiyou's obsession with Shio was not sexual, even though the things that he was saying could be interpreted that way. But after this, there's simply no denying it.
太陽って言うんだ、僕の名前。三つ星太陽。
太陽？じゃあ太陽くんだ。よしよし、太陽くん、悲しくなるから泣かないでね。
天使だ。僕を癒してくれる天使。僕が頑張っているのを神様は見ててくれた。もっと触ってほしい。もっともっと。今度は僕から触ればいいのかな。まあいろいろあるよね。それにこの木を逃したらもう会えないかもしれない。
The way his mouth waters is revolting. This mix of her innocent little girlness and his perverted desires is disgusting, and reminds me of Lolita, as it is in the books, a man who is twisting the actions of a little girl to make them something they are not, to justify his own wrong feelings. She's not seducing him, she's not trying to lure him in, but he is lured because of his own twisted desires and thoughts. He decides to take her home, but she's saved when the punks from earlier arrive and beat him up. But in the end, crime doesn't pay, and Matsuzaka arrives and kills both men before whisking Shio away. Taiyou doesn't witness the murders, but he sees them leaving together. Shio herself is dealing with some kind of repressed memories. She is haunted by a woman whose face she can't see, and when Taiyou mentioned family, she kind of lost it a bit. Where did Matsuzaka find her? She doesn't behave like a girl who was stolen from her family. She seems to truly care for Matsuzaka and is happy whenever they are together. So you have to wonder if this is like a Stockholm Syndrome kind of thing. So, quick roundup. Matsuzaka and Shio have formed a little family and profess great love for each other. Matsuzaka is obsessed with her. Taiyou is obsessed with her too, and his obsession is very gross and twisted. The teacher is obsessed with Matsuzaka, and that is also gross and twisted. And so is her colleague, Sumi. Sumi has been watching Matsuzaka and gradually altering herself so she becomes more and more like her, which means she's been following her, prying into her life, searching for her home and whomever she lives with. This girl is very intimidating, very psycho as she expresses this. And how will Matsuzaka navigate this one? To be honest, she kind of does it brilliantly.
抱き心地がふんわりしてる。 そんなスーちゃんだからこそ好きだなって思うのに。
クズで生意気で誰にも好きになってもらえないようなやつなんです。だから私頑張って佐藤先輩と同じになるんです。
それじゃあ私スーちゃんのこと愛せないよ。スーちゃんは今のままありのままで素敵じゃない。
By making Sumi believe she loves her just the way she is, Matsuzaka stops the girl from this obsession to transform into her. It's something that only a twisted mind like hers could come up with. You can't change because I love you the way you are. And if you think I'm so amazing, how could you possibly deny my love? Very clever. After this encounter, she's disgusted with herself, and we see her repeatedly rinsing out her mouth. When she returns home, she's desperate for the sweetness that Shio offers, only to find the little girl spiraling, plagued by memories of her mother, feeling like she's being punished because she went outside and spoke to someone else, and then lied to Matsuzaka about it. And then Matsuzaka reveals that she has a confession too. And is she going to tell this little girl she murdered those punks? That she murdered the owner of this flat? That she stole Shio from her home? No, none of the above. She apologizes to Shio for telling someone else that she loves them. She's murdered at least 3 people that we know of, and this is what she feels guilty about. Meanwhile, Shoko, who is a good friend of Matsuzaka's, checks in on Taiyou because they're colleagues and he hasn't been coming in to work. She accidentally stumbles into his room and sees Shio's posters absolutely everywhere. On the walls, the ceiling, the floor, the bed. It's like he wanted to cocoon himself in her image. As you can imagine, he freaks out seeing her there, swinging between almost reasonable explanations and insanity, hinged and unhinged from one minute to the next. He tells her that this girl is precious to him and that Matsuzaka kidnapped her. Shoko doesn't believe it because to her that's an absolutely ridiculous thing to say. He's freaking out and she's scared he's going to hurt her. He does actually hurt her, but she's worried it's going to get worse. So she gets free of him and runs away. And then she bumps into Asahi as he's putting up more posters. She does not tell him that she just saw his sister's missing posters absolutely covering the room of this random boy. And isn't this becoming just a twisted web? The two of them become friends as she brings him food and listens to the tragic story of their family. Their father was a monster and beat them terribly. He and his mother protected Shio from the violence, and she became this precious, perfect baby angel to them. And I'm not saying that she didn't deserve to be treated this way by them, but I think the way they began to think of her, the way they treated her, was in direct response to the horror of the rest of their lives. They created their very own moon in the darkness. The mother takes Shio and leaves their home, leaving Asahi to bear the full brunt of the father's violence. He does this willingly because he wants them to be safe. So once again, we wonder, how did Shio end up with Matsuzaka? And Shoko is listening to this story, wondering the whole time if her best friend really did steal this little girl. And it's in the middle of all of this that Shoko realizes how much she values the friendship she shares with Matsuzaka, and how much she misses her since she moved in with her one and only. Now, because people don't feel a normal amount of emotions in this anime, Shoko makes a grand declaration of friendship to Matsuzaka, who she credits for brightening her life. She asks her to reveal her secrets and let her all the way in, promising to never abandon her and always support her. This is a wild thing to say when you suspect your friend might have kidnapped a primary school kid.
佐藤、あんたは私の窮屈な世界の扉を開けてくれた。手を引っ張っていろんな気持ちを共有してくれた。私が唯一本音で話せる友達。 そんなあんたの事情に巻き込まれるなら本望だよ。私は自分でも考えられないくらいあんたが特別で大好きなんだから。
Matsuzaka decides to take her friend on her word and takes Shoko home. Is she really going to introduce her to Shio? Or is she going to kill her for being so nosy? When they arrive, there's police waiting outside the apartment door because neighbors reported a bad smell. Perhaps the smell that might linger in a room covered in blood? Matsuzaka is nervous, wide-eyed and sweating. Her teacher is watching them from the shadows and just losing his mind at the prospect of a panicked Matsuzaka. Seems like he's about to leave his DNA in the damn hallway. After some back and forth with the police, she opens the door and lo and behold, it's her auntie. I haven't really mentioned this so far, but throughout the anime, there has been questions about where Matsuzaka's aunt is because her aunt is her legal guardian. Also, they have a secret signal for when the aunt should open the door. Matsuzaka drops her keys and then knocks on the door, and that's the signal to the aunt that she should open the door. Isn't that bizarre? From Matsuzaka's flashbacks, we know there's something weird with the aunt. She has some very twisted beliefs when it comes to love, and the teacher believed that she was in the trash bags he disposed of. But here she is, covered in bandages with the craziest eyes you've ever seen. For her, love is accepting everything a person has or wants to give, receiving all of their desires no matter what they may be. And she wants to love everyone.
ねえおまわりさん、何日してないんですか？かわいそうに自分を慰める暇さえないんですか？真面目なことしか取り柄がない、他には何もない、心底つまらない人間。こら！昴生君！いいよ、叩いて。私を叩いてすっきりしちゃおう。遠慮しなくていいんだよ。それはとっても気持ちよくなることなんだから。私の頬を思いっきり叩いて、お腹を殴って怒鳴りつけて、それから衣服を無理やり脱がせて。ほら、私だけは。何してるんですあなたも寂しい人なのね。
That poor guy didn't know what the hell just hit him, and he does go back to her flat later on. Shoko is deeply disturbed by Matsuzaka's aunt and her weird, overtly sexual, predatory behavior. Matsuzaka, who struggled to love anyone, was raised by a woman who loved everyone recklessly. And I think her aunt's promiscuity is one of the reasons why the ultimate love that she finds is not sexual. Sometimes the anime has these, these shots that are like, but anime just be like that sometimes. So I don't know if that's fan service or trying to tell us something. I think Shio and Matsuzaka see each other as platonic soulmates. Though Shio is so young that she doesn't have a concept of platonic or romantic, right? She just sees Matsuzaka as her person, her ultimate love in her life, her only love in her life. Shoko reacts badly when Matsuzaka gives her the chance to be her true friend and accept her flaws and all. She says nothing, essentially rejecting her, and so the best friendship never truly takes off, which just pushes Matsuzaka to Shio even more, believing that this is the only relationship that she can truly rely on. She genuinely let Shoko see a hidden part of her life, a part that she was ashamed of and got burned by it. After this disappointing encounter, she returns to her home with Shio, which is on a different floor of the same building. In episode 8, we get a flashback of how they ended up in this apartment in the first place, and why it conveniently has a room with an electronic padlock on it. It's a very well made episode, shown from the perspective of an older man who becomes fixated on Matsuzaka. He's a painter specializing in dupes, and this is why he has this one room that locks. The paintings are very valuable. Seemingly, they spend a lot of time together. She visits him repeatedly and he paints her, and I believe he sees her as some kind of muse. And then one day she arrives on his doorstep with Shio. It's clearly an emergency situation, and she believed she could come to him for help. While she prepares a bath for the girl, the painter is overcome with jealousy. Now, jealousy is not exactly the right word. Matsuzaka is unlike anything he's seen of her before. With Shio, she seems happy, complete almost, and he preferred her when she was incomplete and sad. And that is how these girls ended up in a rather spacious and fancy apartment. In the present, Matsuzaka tells Taiyou that he can see Shio if he gets rid of her brother. Not kill him, but convince him to leave. And he successfully does it. I mean, it goes a little badly, but it has the desired results. He tells the boy Shio was spotted in a distant town, and even though Asahi is suspicious, he can't not go. So he says his goodbye to Shoko, who he's been growing closer and closer to. She kisses him goodbye, and I feel weird about it, but I don't know how old Asahi is, so maybe it's okay. He grew up in an abusive environment, so he could just be small from being like malnourished. But in my mind, he was like 12 and she's like 15 or 16, so not the best. Matsuzaka and Shio are super happy, doing better than ever, and want to hold a wedding ceremony. This is something they kind of do all the time, like they say wedding vows to each other all the time. I do still believe that it's a platonic relationship, but you know, this show is messed up in many ways. Regardless, this happy moment doesn't last. And now it's time for another murder. Shoko tries to convince Matsuzaka she won't tell anyone, but that's not a risk she's willing to take. So she ends the life of her almost best friend. And Shio knew exactly what was going to happen because she went straight to her bedroom before the whole argument began. Now, if you're wondering how Shoko even knew where to find them, I believe the aunt sent her up just to cause trouble. Like Shoko went to that apartment first, and the aunt told her where she should go. And before Shoko dies, she sent the picture she took to Asahi. And so he returns, enlisting the help of Taiyou to help him find his sister. He is done playing Mr. Nice Guy. Matsuzaka is physically and emotionally spent after murdering her friend. She genuinely cared for Shoko, so I'm sure this one feels different. Her state of mind reminds Shio of her mother, who gradually lost her mind as a result of her husband's abuse. Even after the two of them fled, things didn't quite get better. After everything that this woman endured, she would have needed a lot of support and mental health resources, and they just didn't have that. So her mother's mental condition continued to deteriorate until one day she took her little girl's hand, walked her out to the middle of nowhere, and abandoned her. And this is when she meets Matsuzaka.
私が生きるためにあの人に生きてほしかった。だから違ったんだよ。それはきっと愛なんかじゃなかったんだ。あなたの瓶は空っぽだけど壊れてないんだね。何かを信じているんだね。だから壊れないんだね。埋まるといいね。その空っぽキラキラで。
This kind of meeting makes a lot of sense, because Shio never seemed unhappy to be with Matsuzaka. So it fits that she was abandoned. It also fits with her struggling to recall her memories. Like, I could see this event being so traumatizing that she sealed away those memories, and slowly, they're starting to come back to her. Memories of her mother, of the violence of her father, of her brother. And we see that throughout the series. Both Matsuzaka and Shio didn't receive the love they yearned for from the people who were supposed to give it, and so they gave it to each other. Recalling what happened to her mother, how she snapped and abandoned Shio because she couldn't handle life anymore. So she's a little girl, so she doesn't fully understand what her mother is going through. But her interpretation that she cracked under the weight of everything she had experienced is not exactly wrong, and now she's worried that the same thing is going to happen to Matsuzaka, and her solution is that she should share everything that she's going through with her. And that is what love is really about. If they love each other, then they should share each other's burdens. And so their relationship becomes even closer. And they have yet another wedding ceremony. And this time they kiss on the lips. And I don't know if it's supposed to be romantic or not. I still don't think so. I mean, platonic kisses on the lips are a thing. After this latest murder, the girls know that they have to leave, and so they enlist the help of Matsuzaka's aunt. And of course, she's willing to help because she loves love and loves mess. And she gets to set a fire, and I bet she's always yearned to do that. Speaking of the aunt, poor unfortunate Taiyou goes to her flat in search of Shio and gets kidnapped again. I knew the aunt was crazy, but I didn't think she'd force herself on someone. I thought her whole thing was to have love enacted upon her. But this is what happens, and his mental health rapidly deteriorates. Matsuzaka and Shio leave the apartment building to start a new life somewhere else, but Matsuzaka forgot her wedding ring and has to return for it. Because of this, they're still in the building when number 1, Auntie sets fire to their entire floor, unsurprising that she's the type to take things too far, and number 2, Asahi arrives, having made contact with Taiyou, who might just be about to burn to death. The girls flee from Asahi and he pursues them, injuring Matsuzaka with a baseball bat. Shio protects her and repeatedly tells her brother that she does not want to go with him. She chooses Matsuzaka. They're happy together. Asahi reveals that after their mother abandoned her, she poisoned their father. He thinks this will make her feel better, but it does not. And the fact that their father is gone and their mother is about to go to jail, he thinks it's more important than ever that the two of them are together.
私を不幸から解き放ってくれてありがとうって。だから私は私のために生きる。それ以上近寄らないで。
なんでだ。
私がサトちゃんを選んだの。私にはサトちゃんが必要なの。
I feel bad for the boy. He has done so much to find his sister. He might be the only main character who loves another in a way that's not also really messed up. But Shio does not want to go with him. The girls run away from him and end up on the roof. This is where the story began. The plan has gone wrong, and they will not be able to start a new life somewhere else. So, they decide to go out of this life together. And as they fall, Matsuzaka's love for Shio levels up again, and she realizes that she can't let her die. And so she protectively curls her body around the girl, so she lives while Matsuzaka dies.
しおちゃん、生まれ変わっても私のこと好きでいてね。ごめんね。ありがとう。
The final scene of the series shows Shio in the hospital. Her brother is so happy they can be together, but she already has someone she loves.
一緒に暮らそうしよう。
ごめんね、私。そういうのはもうやめたの。だって私は生まれ変わったんだから。
何を。
私の愛は、幸せは私の中だけにある。
Within Shoko's body, the two girls will remain together forever. Oh, and by the way, Taiyou made it out of Auntie's room. He was real creepy when he saw Shio again. And that is the end of Happy Sugar Life. What did you think? To me, this anime is an exploration of a group of people whose perception and expression of love and desire got twisted into something dark and unhealthy. I watched this entire anime not truly rooting for anyone. I just wanted to see what would happen, and I prayed nothing terrible would happen to Shio. So I'm going to end things here. I feel like I can't say I hope you enjoyed this video, but I hope that you found it interesting. Let me know what you think about it if you've watched it, or what you think from what I said in this video. What do you think the relationship dynamic was between Matsuzaka and Shio? And if you have any anime recommendations, please leave them in the comments as well. So this is the end of the video. It feels strange to say I hope you enjoyed it, but I hope that you found it interesting or engaging. I'd love to know what you think in the comments, or if you have any other anime recommendations. Happy Sugar Life was thought-provoking in a way that I don't think I've ever had those thoughts before. I hope that you have a good day, a good week. See you in the next one. I'm Kayla. Bye.